Every September for several years, we have been spending a few days working with the Concordia Social Project of the Children's Farm in the village of Aricest, about 60 kilometers north of Bucharest.
Fabian Robu has been welcoming us since we first came to Bucharest around Easter of 2005. Over the next few days, he will accompany us and act as our translator.
In previous years, we designed major music theater projects together with a group of children and young people, as well as educators.
Our new project for children and educators, Music Out of a Suitcase, is already in its second year. We are looking forward to meeting new educators in this year's group and the exchange with those who were introduced to our work last year.
Casa Vienna, da?
Ah, gut, okay. Und Casa
Ja,
Ignacio?
Ignazio,
Ignacio, hier.
Dominica.
Dominica,
Dominica Ignazio. Da?
Dominica.
Oratre.
The project, Music Out of a Suitcase, in Romanian, Muzica din Valisa, supplements our musical theater project. Educators who are interested can visit a multi-day training course to familiarize themselves practically and actively with the various games, all available in Romanian translation, and discuss central pedagogical guidelines with us.
Es ist nicht ein Musikunterricht.
Dar nu este o oră de muzică, un curs de muzică.
Es ist eine Spielstunde mit
Este o oră de joc, joacă.
Ja, interaktiv. Ja, das ist wichtig. Ja.
In the morning, the educators get to play and experience for themselves what will be done with the children at the various Concordia houses in the afternoon. This way, they have the tools to play games with the suitcase of music later on in their own groups.
Asta muzica și mă distrez cu ea. Asta muzica și mă distrez cu ea.
This film gives insight into the two-day work with a new group of educators, as well as the continuing work with those who have been using the suitcase of music for a year.
Okay, so, jetzt ist der Koffer wieder gepackt.
Koffer zu.
Bună dimineața!
Bună dimineața!
Alles klar?
Bună dimineața.
Bună dimineața! Gut geschlafen?
Alles gut?
Ja. Alles gut.
So, hier nochmal das Modell.
Kleinem Skript miteinander zu spielen, damit ihr wisst, aha, so gehen die Spiele. Ja?
Cu tot ce avem noi acolo în valiză, toată recuzita, da? Jocuri și așa mai departe, exersăm și încercăm să facem ceva care să folosiți ulterior.
When working the first time with the music suitcase, it is important for the participating educators to realize that nothing can go wrong here. They make use of the instruments mostly unknown to them, and we facilitate their experience in an appreciative manner.
Da hängt noch was dran.
Ja, einfach.
Ja? Moment, gleich bald spielen.
Și să scoți un sunet sau câteva sunete.
Da kann man mal die ganze Kiste auf die rausstellen. Viele kleine Instrumente drin. Ja, was braucht man da vielleicht dazu?
să ții.
La tine.
Ia. Da.
Cum zice acum?
Aber ihr merkt, das macht Erwachsenen genauso viel Spaß wie Kindern. Auspacken.
Este fonie. Hai că jucăm ursul.
Deci acolo la eșapră.
Sehr gut. Zweite Biene. Now.
In the first game of Chaos and Togetherness, everyone can participate without previous knowledge. But we do try to teach the educators that certain rules of the game make a differentiated sound possible, and listening to one another can be a social challenge.
Denk mal an Maschinen. Was Maschinen für Klänge haben.
With the sound machine, we create simple rhythms.
So.
Nu face Facebook. Dar parcă i-a făcut Facebook.
Original. Original. Aici.
Nu, tu, repari.
Every day, we're invited to a different house for lunch and dinner. The children are very enthusiastic about this and love to play hosts. Before and after the meal, we take time for common activities and talks.
Da!
Mami și eu pot să iau.
Therefore, there is still time after lunch to get the music suitcase and to arrive on time at the Casa Carolina, where we are already expected.
The educator responsible for the house, together with the children, have already put aside the table and chairs, and we can begin opening the suitcase with the children immediately.
Und das Instrument einmal vorstellen.
Și scoatem câteva sunete, îl prezentăm puțin, ne jucăm la el.
N-are nimic, poate fi.
Nu ți așa și bam, bam. Nu.
Wer kann sich
Ja,
erinnern?
știu. Nu,
Weißt du, wie geht es? Zeig es ihr.
Arată-i. Acolo.
Știu mai bine decât tine.
E foarte bine.
So.
Ține așa.
The educators looking on can now live through their own experiences from the morning and see how the children react to the game Chaos Togetherness.
mal ein
Uite, Manuela.
und ihr macht mal, bewegt mal eure Hand, solange ihr den Ton hören könnt.
Și să faceți și voi semn cu mâna cât timp durează sunetul, da? Să arcuiți.
In the room, everyone is touched by the earnestness and concentration as the children play the game Sound Chain.
Și acum le legănăm ușor.
With the drumming song, we say goodbye to the children of the Casa Carolina.
Și acum le legănăm pe unor.
Off we go to the house Ignațiu.
Okay, facem voi puțin spațiu.
We open the suitcase right away so that we can start with our conductor game.
One can see that the children really enjoy influencing the sound of the others through their gestures.
Mai găsit un instrument.
Wie heißt denn dieses Instrument, Michel?
Camera. Găbețeți.
Camera noastră este un instrument. Cauți un sunet și dacă ești atent.
Ok, camera noastră este un instrument. Cauți un sunet și dacă ești atent. Nu ușa? Ce? Masa noastră sună așa.
Du și bate masa.
Tu faci.
Du-te și bate.
Masa noastră sună așa. Asta muzica și mă distrez cu ea. Asta muzica și mă distrez cu ea. Mulțumesc!
Mulțumim.
Today we start with a name song. Together we make rhythmical adaptations for the Romanian text so that the refrain and the middle part fit the melody.
From our game collection, we choose our weather game and present its rules.
A graphic notation is a new challenge. With the individual weather signs, whole weather compositions can be created.
The next game leads us into the world of rhythm.
Jetzt ist es nämlich so, die Indianer, die gehen arbeiten den ganzen Tag und sie müssen,
toată ziua la muncă, la vânătoare, la
ja, oder sie reiten.
călăresc.
Und wenn aber der Häuptling ruft,
Dacă aud bătăile indianului șef,
dann wissen alle, sie müssen wieder zurück ins Dorf kommen.
ei știu.
Ja.
La muncă.
The three rhythmical motives represent coming home, sneak up, and hide. In this game, educators learn how to differentiate.
Geht auch, ist nur nicht einer von denen.
Through the rhythmical language, musical lay people as well as children can experience and recognize the rhythmical motives better.
Ta, 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 ta. Was ist hier?
Ce înseamnă asta?
Es gibt auch eine Pause, schaut mal. Die sieht so aus. Die können wir dahin tun.
Aia înseamnă pauză.
We now turn to another topic. Modern abstract paintings should inspire us to work freely and individually with sounds.
Mai găsiți și alte elemente.
Das ist überall.
Es entsteht eine Atmosphäre, die interessant klingt, beruhigend klingen kann, in dem Fall so, und aber auch ein Gefühl transportiert.
The Brazilian piece, Maracatu, allows for the making of vivid music with the drums, wooden sticks, rattles, and speech sounds.
The next spoken piece is accompanied at first by sound gestures, before it also can then be translated by instruments.
Stânga foc, dreapta foc, stânga foc. Werke, palma, și pornim, batem tare și oprim. Drăguț ușor, drăguț ușor, werke, palma și pornim, batem tare și oprim.
Okay.
Mulțumim!
Okay, good.
In Casa Austria, a big crowd is awaiting us. Almost 30 children look expectantly to us. Some we know from previous visits. I start with join-in games, and most of them participate right away.
Maracatu. Maracatu. Maracatu.
In this house, the suitcase has visited a number of times last year, and therefore the spoken piece Maracatu is familiar to the children.
Maracatu. 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 Noch zwei. Und noch ein Buben.
In a small group in an inner circle, we carefully study an abstract painting before we interpret it into music with our instruments.
Alege și tu de acolo ce părticică. Punctele acelea.
Okay. Allgemeinen Hinweise haben wir letztes Jahr gemeinsam mit der Gruppe erarbeitet. Ja. Und da haben wir auf einer Seite zusammengefasst, was wir meinen, was ganz allgemein wichtig ist.
Together we read and discuss some of the central information dealing with the music suitcase to justify and facilitate the work with it.
About once a month, the music suitcase should be unpacked. The play unit should be from 20 to 40 minutes. The ideal number of children in a group is 8 to 12. It is recommended that 2 educators support the activities.
Vierter Punkt.
Have courage! Together with the children, try out new things and learn yourself.
Spiel ist natürlich für Kinder auch Arbeit.
Aber jocul este și muncă.
Und im Spiel kann man natürlich auch lernen.
Prin joc poți să înveți.
Ja? Und sie lernen eben über die Instrumente und sie lernen Spielregeln und sie lernen soziales Miteinander.
Ei învață regulile, instrumentele, dar și un comportament social.
We are not offering to teach musical lessons. We present musical game workshops, because social learning and development of the personality, as well as strengthening of self-confidence, are the most important issues.
We adults are always role models. If we enjoy making music, the children will enjoy it as well. Also, laughing is allowed and healthy.
There is a tradition that clown Michelino does shows in the various centers during each of our visits in Concordia. For the past 3 years, in fact, the program has been called Manushka and Michelino Are Coming.
Michelino și Marușca, Michelino și Marușca. Michelino.
Zu Beginn mal sehr bedanken, dass ihr uns eure Erfahrungsberichte schon geschickt habt vom letzten Jahr, von Oktober, November, was ihr und auch Fotos geschickt habt.
There was a short report written up in the magazine Orff Schulwerk Today about our work with the music suitcase. Reflections and photos of the educators were also featured, as well as one of the musical examples. Calling one's own name while drumming in dynamic waves is a good challenge for the group, which has already had such experiences in our further education.
A vivid exchange of experience is beginning. The educators talk about the games which they could use in the children's groups and report which independent additions and changes had been made by them.
Au avut ocazia să ia fiecare instrument în
notele muzicale, cât de ușor și cât de frumos. Și când ascultați zgomotul instrumentul ce scotea, pe urmă zâmbeau.
Und die Kinder sind zum Tisch
Sind diese gewesen?
Da.
Ja.
Balerină le puneam rochițe de alea de hârtie creponată și era foarte comici.
Mit Papier haben sie auch.
Finally, we talk about the children's favorite instruments, and Laura shows which sound she especially likes. Out of this, the game Sounding Walk is being developed.
Înapoi.
Vielleicht könnt ihr einmal kurz so einfach sagen, was fällt euch auf? Was seht ihr auf dem Bild? Was ist wichtig?
Poate, nu știu, ce și închipuie că reprezintă.
Wir wollen sozusagen ein Musikbild malen mit Klängen.
After experiencing many room sounds, we play a game where one needs to listen very carefully to each other. At the end, only the softest sound should remain.
Deci fără instrument cântăm puțin mai jos.
Dann ist die Klammer weg, ja?
The new room song still has to be corrected so that the Romanian text can be sung well. Everybody is working well together and bringing in ideas.
Asta muzica și mă distrez cu ea.
Now we need to plan an afternoon together because the educators will show their experiences with the music suitcase in the two children's houses, and they will partly take over the introduction of the games.
Wie es klingt, damit das in aller Ruhe mal einen Zugang kriegt. Das müssen wir dann besonders natürlich nächste Woche präsentieren.
Equipped with 2 questions, the educators split into small groups and collect impressions of their first afternoon with the children. What went well with the children? What was difficult and why?
The educators experienced a warm-hearted atmosphere in the houses as being positive, as well as the joy and readiness with which the children participated in the games. Critically, they remarked about the limited space available and the large size of the groups.
On the other hand, They noticed self-critically that they needed more experience in leading the games in order to support the children better.
Și voi faceți așa. Da? Dacă nu puteți scâmpi, puneți instrumentele jos. Mai spun instrumentele, pune în jos. Puneți instrumentele puțin jos. Un instrument, da? De la mama. Da?
They noticed distinctly that their own insecurity with the rules of the game made them nervous, and that was picked up on by the children.
As a general idea, they want to give themselves more time and not jump into a game without warming up.
The children should be more involved, and the games should be shorter so that the children needn't wait so long and can be active sooner.
Einige Kinder haben noch kein Instrument. Die Kinder, die dürfen jetzt noch einmal in Ruhe schauen, was da alles ist.
Vă uitați în liniște, să scoți câteva sunete. Da? Un cântecel, scurt. Hai. Hai, curaj. Bate. Ia da acum. Hai.
Super.
Și bate și pe celelalte clape. Ia să vedem. Hai. Și ia-le pe toate la rând.
Bravo!
Ia, Hai, comunicați.
Ce de urât.
Maria, tu aștepți?
Okay.
We are discovering Emil's musical talent. Stefan, however, needs a special task administered by me. This is very motivating to him. Now he can constructively take part in the game.
The self-critical reflection was experienced by all of us as constructive and helpful, and the educators gained courage for further games with the music suitcase.
Nochmal eine halbe Stunde hier oben schnell.
Ja.
Schnell zusammen. Und dass wir da diszipliniert sein. Okay. Ja, bună dimineața! Bună dimineața!
Gata, fetele?
Three players choose one instrument each and they put into sound 3 elements of a flower bouquet, like a root or a vase, a flower and a leaf, or a blade of grass.
After these poetic moments, it is time for a new song. The drum song, Batte Batte Tobele, makes an accompaniment with sound gestures possible, and of course with drums. It takes a little more practice to learn the melody, but it is working quite well, except for the tone at the beginning of the second part.
We end the morning with a short exchange about the planned contents of the children's lessons in the afternoon.
Ce ați observat?
Un model.
Ein Vorbild, dass wir viel Geduld, also lernen, Geduld zu haben.
A challenging afternoon with 2 children's groups is behind us. This time, we invited the children to the common room of the educators in order to have more room to play in. We begin with the first group by exploring the sounds of the room. The children are fascinated.
Fenster.
Usha.
The game is initiated non-verbally, which promotes concentration.
Okay. Bei Emil habe ich ein bisschen probiert, auch mit Berührung.
La Emil a încercat să-și atingă.
Immer so beiden gesessen und immer mal so.
Când a stat lângă el, l-a mai mângâiat puțin.
Aber wenn ich gemerkt habe, er will das nicht,
dacă a simțit că nu vrea lucrul ăsta,
dann habe ich auch wieder aufgehört.
Atunci a renunțat.
When creating the parts in between the rondo of the room song, the very restless little Emil is contributing constructively and gains our praise.
Asta-i muzica și mă distrez cu ea. Asta-i muzica și mă distrez cu ea.
At the end, Stefan is singing along briefly. Then the mood flips. We take this with humor and end this phase happily.
The work with the children this afternoon opened the possibility for pointing out many didactic details. In a reflective talk, we could discover together why many impulses for the games were positively accepted in spite of the restlessness in the group and some difficult children.
Was auch gut geklappt hat, war dann, auch wenn es natürlich sehr stark und laut gespielt wurde, war das Wetterspiel. Da gab es eben dann auch verschiedene klare Aufgaben.
After finding some weather signs for rain and wind, we now look for sounds for the sun.
Gut. Du möchtest die Sonne spielen.
The children exchange tasks and instruments more and more independently at the different variations. Then the weather signs will be expressed by different sounds.
Ich habe mich an ein Spiel erinnert, das mein Vater...
During our final discussion, I explain and demonstrate to the educators why I decided not to let the drum, representing thunder, out of my hand.
Es ist genau das. Ich mache es so. Und es ist genau das, was passiert. Ich gebe es hin und die ersten greifen danach. Die wollen sie haben. Ja? Und dann nehme ich sie zurück. Nein, das habe ich nicht gemacht. Nein, ja. Okay, ja, gut. Und dann, wenn ich sehe, was habe ich gesehen, dann habe ich auch.
Am văzut că au vrut să dea puternic.
Okay, ja. Jetzt habe ich hab das Steuer in der Hand.
Ja.
Donner.
Un tip de tot, ia ține tova și tu scoți sunet. Ia ține tova și tu scoți sunet. Bați.
Donner.
Ăsta a fost sunet.
Short conversations with sound gestures finish up the lesson, and every child is individually recognized by us once more.
Ich sage was so.
Nu trebuie să te disper.
Du faci.
Stai.
Okay. Und?
We start the second group with a simple play-along game to ease the mood because they seem not to feel well in this unfamiliar room.
Sie waren hier am Anfang mit der kreativen Aufgabe, etwas gleich alleine zu machen.
In the final talk, we noticed that most children like to play along and all games could be performed with all of them being active and without serious interruptions.
Și acum le legăm în ușor. Și acum le legăm pe...
Using instruments is especially motivating, and a group with a wider span of ages seems to work well with the drumming song. This afternoon, I end spontaneously with the game of conducting, where everyone can really get into it, but also where each can play their own instrument too.
Liebe Leute, wir sind jetzt ziemlich nah am Ende unseres Treffens. Wir sind sehr dankbar, dass ihr nochmal gekommen seid, sodass wir auch spüren können von euch und gehört haben, wie es euch gegangen ist, wo ihr auch noch weiter lernen wollt, weiter üben wollt, was euch alles bewusst ist. Ja?
Die Koffer und die Musik und die gute Laune und die sinnvolle Beschäftigung damit, die kann überall hinwandern.
Sie haben so viel bekommen von euch.
Să vă felicităm pentru răbdarea cu care lucrați, pentru metodele care
Gratulire für die Geduld mit den Kindern zu arbeiten, ja.
Sunteți atât de creativ.
Und für die Arbeitsmethoden, für die Kreativität, die ihr habt. Sie kann Lob für euch und ihr seid Vorbilder für uns.
Gut. Ich fange mal an. Auf
Okay.
Wiedersehen. Ja.
Ah, diese Seite, diese Seite. Ja, Fabian.
This evening we want to have some space and we go to the nearby river. The children used up all our energy this afternoon, but the walk relaxes us.
Ja? Ich singe gerne. Also mit Musik konnte ich alle zusammenbringen und habe auch einen Kinderchor gegründet, ja, und geleitet jahrelang. Und die Musik war für mich der Schlüssel, wo ich näher zu den Kindern und Jugendlichen gekommen bin. Die Unterstützung von Manuela und Michel ist sehr, sehr groß. Und vom Jahr zu Jahr höre ich, also wann wir wissen, wann wir ihn bekannt machen in den Häusern, dass sie kommen. Die Kinder und Erzieher freuen sich sehr, weil sie mit so einfacher Musik sehr schöne Stimmung in den Häusern bringen und man spürt das bei den Kindern. Und Musikkoffer wird jetzt weiter in den Häusern verwendet und neue Ideen also für neue Musiktheater in den nächsten Jahren sind sehr verlangt oder gewünscht von unseren Mitarbeitern und Kindern, auch Jugendlichen.
Okay.
Ok, asta rămâne atunci aici și o ducem la Arhanghel, la...
The 4 days were filled with laughter and the joy of playing on the instruments, but also with heartfelt encounters of listening and wonder. We all learned from one another. The motivation in all of us to further develop the project is high.
The next step will be to give the educators further support so that they can gain more security and can joyfully use the musical suitcase in their groups.
We will always try to bring ideas for new games, more instruments and materials, and to emphasize more and more the inclusion of movement and dance.
From the bottom of our hearts, we thank the organization Concordia for their support of the project, and we thank the educators, the children, and the youth for their trust.
The farewell is heartfelt, and we assure you that we will come back next year.
We are very happy that Mircea can drive us to the train station today. He was the one who helped us to make the project Muzica din Valisa get started last year.
Okay. Ciao. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.